How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Barely There podcast. We are a little bit late to this episode, obviously, but Lucas was flying around on business. I was up at Lambeau for the very first time. It was quite the weekend, so we are coming at you a little bit late, a little bit getting a little bit of time to let it all sink in. Obviously, you guys know the story by this point. The Green Bay Packers beat our beloved Chicago Bears 27-10. Overall, pretty tough game to watch. Really a second quarter that got away from us pretty quick. It seems like we were building some momentum, especially with that first offensive drive. And the Packers just kind of did exactly what the Packers been doing us for quite a fucking while. It's mind-boggling. It's frustrating. It's a little bit of the above. I had an incredible time up in Lambeau. Obviously, wasn't great walking out of the stadium towards the end of it. But quite an experience if you've never been up there. The entire fan base traveled really well. I gave out a lot of shit. They gave out a lot of shit to me. It was it's an experience I highly recommend. But anyway, Lucas, how we feeling, buddy? Obviously coming off a loss, man. There's not going to be a whole tons of positives to say, but what's your headspace right now?
I mean, I feel pretty good, man. I mean, I think this was a reality check, right? Like week 1 is typically the week of like indecision and upsets, right? Like you always see weird things happen in week 1. Teams that shouldn't be winning, like the Seahawks and the Bears, really. In week 1, it's upset week. So typically week 2, week 3, week 4, that's when you start to get a true understanding of what the team's going to be. And I think it's a good measuring stick. We're still far away from the Green Bay Packers and being in the lead for the NFC North. I mean, I hope we've never. Obviously, we're meatballs in our picks, and we're going to pick the Bears to win every single game. But I hope at no point we have projected that this team isn't in a rebuild. You know what I mean? Like we've never once been like, oh yeah, the talent is just undeniable all over this team. Like, sure, we think it's a bit underrated. We think they're getting disrespected, but we just kind of learned exactly how far they are away from being the class of the NFC North.
Yeah, no, I feel like we've been pretty damn clear. We've been pretty clear with our intentions from the very start. I feel like me and you in May, June, July were pretty straight up with how we felt about this team. And it's not a negative thing. It's just you have to be able to understand what we're looking at here. You know what I mean? This is a very young team. This is a head coach with his first run, first shot at it. An offensive coordinator, his first shot calling plays, a defensive coordinator kind of taking his first promotion as well. A lot of guys learning the new system. A lot of guys kind of learning terminology. I know one of the number one things I've ever gotten from former players, whenever they either talk in interviews or whatnot, the biggest thing they say is so many coaches in the NFL do the same thing, especially when it comes to scheme, but the terminology throws them off so much that there's almost like a 6-week gap of being able to play completely comfortably under terminology. And like I don't want to use that as like any sort of excuse for a guy like, say like Roquan Smith, who had a pretty tough go of it, and we're gonna definitely talk about that. But there's gonna be a lot of growing pains, man. My prediction was 8-9. Lucas, your prediction was 9-8, and I feel like we had to still get kind of juiced up for those predictions. You know what I mean? Like
I wanted to be 8-9. I just didn't want to go 7 wins, and I didn't want to be the same as you. So
yeah, you just didn't want to copy greatness. I get it, dude. It's fine. It can be
yeah.
kind of hard to do. But yeah, I mean we've been straight up with that, dude, and that's why like I can sit here on this pod, dude. Like losing the Green Bay Packers is never gonna get any better. Like there's just no way to ever make that okay. But this isn't like going into 2018 and losing that week 1, you know what I mean, and feeling like we had a real chance and we just kind of blew it. It's like there were shots in this game where we could have made it a game, but like after the first half, it was getting pretty clear that Green Bay still has something left in the tank. I don't think it's a full tank. I don't think Green Bay is nearly. I don't think the scale is as tilted as it has been in the past. I feel like it's starting to go in our direction, but we're not there yet. It's just simply not there yet. It's going to take a minute to get there, but it's going to be a lot of growing pains this season, and this game encapsulated, man. I thought you said it really well.
I mean, and I think come on, man. It's fucking Aaron Rodgers. Like I can never say until the Bears really, because 2019, I learned from that, right? Like it really looked like 2018. I will say it was a a game that I'm sure we all got hyped up for and we thought we could win, and it was a terrible loss. But 2019, I would say, was even harder because like you go into that week one and you're like, well, the Bears won the North last year. The Packers took a step back. They haven't drafted well for a few years. They looked like dog shit last year. Like it's the Bears division for the taking. And then we got slapped in the face by a team that we did not think was going to beat us. Like that was rough. But at the end of the day, dude, I don't think you can say definitively the Bears will win the NFC North until that guy's no longer here. Like, and now they can. I'm not saying that they can't do it, but you can't like go into this. You can't go into a season saying the Bears are the favorite to win the NFC North until Aaron Rodgers is gone. Like that's just the reality, dude. He's put the knife in us enough times, and I don't want to sit here and talk about Aaron Rodgers because he really looked pedestrian, to be honest. Like he didn't look great in that game. Realistically, our pregame was pretty spot on. The best thing they have is that running game, and that running game is what they leaned on, and it's really the reason why they won the game. They were able to control the tempo, and I know we're going to get into the whole thing, but I'll give you just my overall, of the game. Everything looked bad. Defense couldn't tackle. Offense couldn't move the ball after the first drive. It was gross. Bad penalties. I mean, maybe we should get that out of the way right away. The Bears averaged 3.25 penalties over the entirety of the preseason and then in the first week, right? So we're talking about a 4-week time span here, a 4-week use case of the Bears not committing penalties at a high rate. And then magically 7 penalties. Like, I don't know. That just doesn't check out to me. And I'm not sitting here saying that's the reason why they lost the game, but if you're going to tell me that the NFL does not have an agenda to keep the good teams good and have them winning on primetime and having that storyline of Aaron Rodgers saying, I own you, and Chris Collinsworth just having his mouth dripping with fucking Aaron Rodgers semen. Like, if you don't think that's a reality, it is, dude. The NFL is a business and they have to market it a certain way. So I do think it's a common trend when the Bears play the Packers. They're always called for penalties they shouldn't be.
Well, and I'll say this honestly, if that's tinfoil hat like theory you want to go with, like just from being in Lambeau, like there's so much of this like freaking small town vibe. Like honestly, Green Bay is nothing special. Like this town city itself, like the only thing that like has appeal to it, maybe to like an outside person who maybe doesn't understand like what most of rural Wisconsin looks like, is it's like, oh well, there's a little neighborhood right next to the stadium. You could literally hear everything right from your backyard type thing. And yucking ho ho, and everything's all fucking so goddamn cheery down here. Like that's what that is. And honestly, when you think about it, there's no other NFL team that has that like at all, like even anywhere close. Every other NFL team is in like a fairly big city or a fairly big market. So like the NFL needs the little guy to win in that sense. You know what I mean? Like they need that fucking type of like homegrown type feel where like everybody across the nation roots for the little guy. It's kind of like how Boston used to be seen as underdogs across all sports. And now like you look at Boston, they're like basically the fucking Yankees, like when you look at the Red Sox, like it's all just fucking media bullshit. The NFL sells tickets. The NFL, as much as they don't want to admit it, loves everything that Aaron Rodgers does that keeps the NFL looking hip and cool on the Pat McAfee show. So yeah, if we were gonna go down that line, that's definitely the way I would go. I will say though, I think it's really weird.
The officiating was bad, and I know I read that stat saying that the Bears only got called for 1 penalty with the same crew, but the officiating was bad. I mean,
it was terrible.
Scott just brought it up. There was a clear and obvious holding call that resulted in a sack, and they just picked up the flag. Like, you know what I mean? Like they had the flag out there and they decided to pick it up. There were multiple false starts that were missed. It's not only the penalties that are called on the Bears, but the misses on the Packers side. And you're talking about false starts with offensive linemen. Do you know how much of an advantage that actually fucking gives them, like to get into their spot and to anchor down? It's the David Bakhtiari thing. David Bakhtiari has always been a false start guy. Every single play, he's always a tick too early, but never gets called. Like it's a fucking joke. And I'm not saying that's why the Bears lost the game, because they could not stop anything. The Packers punted twice total. They turned the ball over once on a fumble. That was great. It gave the Bears some momentum. But in my opinion, even if the Bears offense was playing well, they didn't have a great chance to win that game just because the way the Packers were able to control the tempo, averaging like fucking 10 yards a clip between their two running backs. I mean, not being able to get off the field. You want to talk about loafs and the hits principle. There's a lot of fucking loafs being given out this week because there were so many missed tackles. Even guys like, I mean, they were bullying Kyle Gordon, dude. Not only in the pass game, but in the run game as well. They were always running to his side. He was always getting fucking floored. Roquan Smith looked like he has not been practicing for fucking 6 weeks or hasn't been in training camp. He looked bad. He doesn't look good. He like that holdout. I hope it's the holdout and him and not him trying to adjust to a system that he doesn't fit in. Maybe Poles is right on that not extending him. I'm not going to make that distinction yet, but
I'm just saying, I'm not totally there on that. I think it's Roquan missing all of training camp or most of training camp, basically 90% of it, and not playing in any preseason games because like he just doesn't look like himself. He looks like he's thinking too much. It looks like he's making some of the wrong adjustments at the wrong times. Like it seems like his pass coverage isn't even nearly like he's not necessarily in the right spot at the right time. And I feel like a lot of that comes with terminology. And I think a lot of that is something that plays a big factor in it is, you know, this is kind of a defense that carried over from the Vic regimen throughout basically all of Roquan's career that I almost guarantee kept kind of similar terminology because they were defensive coaches from that original Vic staff carrying over all the way through until last year or all the way through to this year. And now it's a completely different defensive coaching staff with a whole different like ideal and principle and terminology. It takes a little bit of time. I know that might sound stupid to somebody who maybe hasn't played for more than one coach, but like it really does have an effect. Even some of the better players have come out after their careers are over and saying like, and have said like, you know, changing to say Lovie Smith's terminology instead of like,
well, even
Greg
something
Belushi before him, you know what I mean? Like it takes a little bit of time, but once you get integrated in that system, like if Roquan's still playing like this week 5 or 6, I'm extremely fucking concerned. And Ryan Poles looks like a genius, but I don't think it's going to continue to move in this direction.
And even, I mean, you got to put even more perspective on it. You're talking about a guy that was playing behind 2 gap players his whole career. Now you got everyone playing 1 gap players. 2 gap players, a big part of their responsibility is being able to engage with the blocker in front of them that they're lined up on and shed that block and get to the thing or eat up more blocks. So yeah, there was a bunch of bullshit. I mean, there was a bunch of bullshit that what do you call it? Defensive blocking. Like, what do you want Kindle Vildor to do? What can he do in that situation? Like, he's trying to make a play. So it's not like he just dove at the guy's fucking knees. But no, overall, I just feel like it was ugly on defense, man. It was really fucking ugly. And now you got guys that are, like I said, you got linebackers that are used to 2 gap players in front of them that are now playing 1 gap and completely different techniques, different gap responsibilities. So yeah, there's an adjustment period. I'm not going to jump off the cliff yet and say that Ryan Poles doesn't have shit caked onto his balls, but cement mixed shit, of course, diarrhea and cement all mixed together. But I will say,
melted peanut brittle on a fucking glass.
I mean, he looked good in the second half of last week, though. So that's what I was like, okay, maybe he just needed to get his legs under him, but he looked rough this week. They knew, dude. Our front seven is nowhere near as impactful without Khalil Mack. Like they knew what they were doing. They ran the ball down our fucking throats, and that's their number one. Their 2 best players right now on offense, besides Aaron Rodgers, are Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. We described this throughout the entire fucking podcast last week. You need to score early and often. You need to make sure that they cannot depend on that running game because Rodgers has not looked great so far this season. I know it's a small sample size, but even still, he didn't look great. He just put a couple daggers in us. And of course, fucking Randall Cobb catches a few big balls, and it's just like the nightmare continues, right? But should we get into the nitty gritty of it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing you look at with the Packers offense, and they've been doing it for years now, is really using Aaron Jones and even before AJ Dillon, what was it, Jamal Williams, really to kind of just set up that 1-2 punch, and that's where it really sets Aaron Rodgers up to do whatever he wants to you, and that's genuinely what it was. I do agree with you though. You know, even seeing it in person, like it wasn't like this typical Aaron Rodgers game. Like it was like he did enough. You know what I mean?
He did enough to get the job done. He put the kill shots in.
Yeah, that's genuinely that's all he did. You know what I mean? Like that's all he had to do because that running game was just working, dude. Aaron Jones in space and that Packer sweep. Holy shit, dude. Like that Packer sweep killed us. They ran it
That's
like three
bullshit.
times
Aaron
on us, and
Rodgers.
they ran it three times on us, and I'm pretty sure they averaged 15 yards of carry on it.
Well, an average, and that counts as a pass for Aaron Rodgers. So they found a way to get him his easy touchdowns again. And it's not the Devontae Adams RPO. It's the fucking jet sweep that's a pass forward. So they'll make sure to fucking inflate his stats. That cocksucker.
Yeah, no, 100% every time. But like I guess I would really have to agree with you on the defensive front that the Packers were just flat out winning line of scrimmage in the run game. You know, we were getting to Aaron in the pass game though. Like as far as pass blocking, the Packers really couldn't do shit against us. And that's where you started kind of really having to deal with the no calls that we were talking about a little bit earlier, you know, because there were some pretty fucking egregious hugs going on the corners. Like obviously the false start's not getting called to really have a guy be able to set an edge. Like I don't want to go to the penalties thing because we've already covered that. But like those are the types of things they kind of did to adjust. And if those aren't getting called, like any team should be trying to do that in all honesty. You know what I mean? Because like Travis Gibson was dangerously close to just starting to have himself a fucking game. And he still had a really good game. But like he was damn near unblockable on passing down.
Well, and they saw that and adjusted right away and just were like, we're gonna just keep pounding the fucking rock. So then they have to chill out on this pass rush. I mean, they adjusted early. They adjusted early. We didn't adjust.
And you saw it every time Al-Quadin Muhammad came in. That's when they would start going back to the pass drops because they knew they could focus more on Robert Quinn because they wouldn't have to worry as much on Al-Quadin Muhammad. And that's not necessarily a shot at him, but he just was not getting to the quarterback on Sunday. You know,
That's never been his thing. You know, he's always been that sound fucking outside edge. You know, set the edge for the running game. Like that's been his role since he's been in the Flus defense. He can get you 5 or 6, but that's, you know, those aren't elite numbers. Yeah.
It's all kind of about the fucking snap counts that he gets to, and he's just far better in the run than he is in the pass. And when you have Travis Gibson for your passing downs, like that's the obvious choice every single time.
Yeah.
Scott, so to answer this question real quick, and then we'll get into our next point because we really need to cover this Bears offense. There has not been a Jack Sanborn sighting on the field yet besides special teams, but there's a really cool story from the tailgate. I met Jack Sanborn's entire family at the tailgate. The only freaking people walking around there, they were all wearing 57 jerseys. At first, I'm like, what is this? Like a bunch of Olin Kreutz fans or something like that. And the one turned around and it said Sanborn. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Jack Sanborn.
I'm surprised you didn't lead the show with that, dude.
Oh, dude, I thought I would integrate it at some point. But yeah, no, I got to talk to him. What I thought was really cool is it's very obvious he was a Bears fan growing up because his dad of all freaking people was wearing a goddamn Brian Urlacher jersey. So like you could tell they were definitely diehard. So everyone else is wearing the Sanborn jersey. Dad's wearing the Urlacher jersey, the Lambo. So you got to respect that type of cojones. But yeah, no, dude, that was a really cool experience. And in all honesty, dude, if our linebackers continue to play this way, I really do want to see Jack get some time on defense. Like I'm going to bark about this till the absolute end of the earth. I'm really ready to try on my new Jack Sanborn jersey that I got in the mail. So, yeah, I met the Sanborns. That was a really cool fucking story, actually.
A Desai 410. Jack Sanborn hasn't been seen, but the Sanborns were seen by Duke.
Hey, his family likes me. I mean, he might block me on Instagram or something weird like that, but you know, you never know.
This still gets to Jersey Jerry levels of creepy in the messages you send. Did you hear
how I haven't gotten like Mitch Trubisky bad over there. Mitch Trubisky and Jay Cutler have gotten the weirder ones, but I've stayed pretty good with everyone else. But anyway, kind of talking about
that. Did you see that Jersey Jerry that he thought fucking TJ Watt was coming to his birthday party? Someone tricked him, or his son's first birthday party or something. And like, oh, I'm gonna send you the clip. It's fucking hilarious. I'll tweet it so whoever's listening can see it too.
God, dude, Jersey Jerry, just an absolute grown thumb. Like, there's no other way to describe it.
It's so good. Someone tricked him to thinking TJ Watt was coming to his son's first.
That's incredible. But yeah, kind of moving to the other side of football because this is something that we definitely got to talk about. Flat out, it just didn't work, man. Honestly, outside of getting the push up front at the line of scrimmage, outside of Dave Montgomery just having a game, dude. Like he was having like that Thomas Jones in Super Bowl 41 type fucking game, like where it was just so hard not to just continue feeding him the football. And then you even had, Khalil Herbert pop off for a big run. I mean, he only had 4 opportunities, but like he's a guy who he's been kind of a home run hitter all season. You know what I mean? So hopefully that continues to move in that direction. But like David Montgomery looked like a legit RB1. And it's a real shame we couldn't keep that going past like the first drive of the game. And I guess, and Lucas, I'll let you kind of take this point because I know you've got a lot to say about it for sure. But I think the thing that bothers me about the whole Luke Getsy situation, I don't want to say necessarily that it bothers me because this is the second game he's ever like actually play called in a regular season game. Like he was not a play caller before this. Like this is still entirely new to him. And people have to understand with this being a young rebuilding team, like we're going to take chances on these types of guys and see if they can pan out and be a really good coordinator. You know what I mean? It seems like Luke Getsy, once he gets outside of his script, really runs into some trouble, man. He gets a little predictable, especially on first downs. If they're going to run, it's almost always Dave Montgomery on his right hip pocket, or it's just going to be an RPO, and that gets insanely predictable. Whereas, every time it seemed like Blasingame was on the field, even if you wanted to run the football, even if you were telling them you were running the football, it wasn't going to be an issue because you were going to have that lead blocker through the hole. So it gets to the point where it's like when you're predictable in situations like that, just hit a point where it's like, okay, fine. If we're going to be predictable, we might as well just be fucking productive with it. And we're going to be productive winning the line of scrimmage and just pounding the rock until they stop us. And that's probably my biggest like problem with how Getsy called plays on Sunday night was we were running hot to start this game. Like David Montgomery was very much in the zone. You have a fresh Khalil Herbert coming off the bench. Blasingame is blasting people at the second level. Like Cole Kmet's doing a good job blocking. Like I know everyone wants to go at Cole Kmet for the no catches, no yards, touchdowns, all that shit, but like he absolutely mollywopped Preston Smith on one of these running plays, and it was
He destroyed him that play.
To behold.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it was
that
an
was
incredible block. So anybody who wants to jump on Cole Kmet for his lack of blocking definitely just is not watching the X's and O's. But I mean, that's just something where like, and Lucas, I already know you're going to jump on the Justin Fields, which go right ahead after this. But like my biggest thing with Luke Getsy is just like stick with what's working in like especially in Lambeau, where it's like we are so used to times where nothing on offense is working and we get desperate. When you have your bell cow thing working, do it until they fucking stop you. It's not rocket science in that sense.
Yeah, to go off of that, I mean, Dave Montgomery clearly earns the game ball. And I think, I put out a really long tweet about this, a huge thread, but I don't think the amount, like the spread of 19 dropbacks or whatever it was. I know that there was only 11 attempts, but there were some dropbacks there that didn't result in pass plays because of some errors by Justin Fields. One was by Sam Mustipher and a messed up snap, whatever it may be. It's besides the point, right? I'm not upset with the split. I feel like people have been really, there's 17 things and 26 rushes in a game. You're down 17. I mean, I think the biggest issue was going away from Blasingame and Tevin Jenkins in that first quarter, right? Like that's what bothers me. It wasn't the split of runs versus passes. It was the fact that you evaded what was working for the first drive and decided like, hey, we're just going to switch it up. And now, second drive doesn't work. I think there was a stat out there that Blasingame was on the field for almost every play of that scoring drive, and then he wasn't seen again until midway through the third quarter. That's inexcusable. There are many things that Luke Getsy did wrong. And I just want to preface this. Critiquing someone does not mean we think they should be fired or that we shouldn't have to explain this, but Twitter's so fucking volatile that it's like I have to preface this because there were a lot of things that Luke Getsy did bad and there were a lot of things that Justin Fields did bad. So critiquing them, I want it to work out, right? But I'm not going to sit here and fucking lie to you and blow smoke up your ass about how I think they both did great in this game. It was a poor showing from both of them. The 4th and 1 or the 4th and inches from the goal line was disgusting. That was like either A, give the ball to your fucking running back that is averaging 8 yards a clip, or B, line up under center, have a full back behind him, and push the motherfucker into the end zone. There is no reason you should be running a trap block at the goal line. I saw someone out there trying to justify that it wasn't that bad. No, it was a terrible fucking call and a terrible design for that spot in the game, especially needing to score on 4th and inches. It was stupid. You don't trap block at the fucking goal line, dude. All that does is give an opportunity for a defender to follow that trap blocker and blow up the play. Now, traps are very effective in certain situations and on certain spots of the field. I don't like it there at the goal line. I think really what bothers me is the switching out of Tevin Jenkins for Lucas Patrick. Multiple reasons, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, Lucas Patrick played poorly, because I thought he had a pretty good game, and I thought Tevin Jenkins had a pretty good game as well. I thought our interior play was very good from Whitehair and Jenkins / Patrick. Mustafer, of course, is dog shit. But I think the fact that you are taking out Blasingame and also bringing in Patrick tells the Packers, hey, the guy that's going to call the protection calls is now in the game, so they are going to be geared more towards throwing. So it's an obvious fucking tell. Okay, so you either have to start Patrick the whole game or start Jenkins the whole game. Name one respectable fucking offensive line that just rotates their right guard for 50% of snaps. It's stupid, okay? And the fact that Patrick was a Packers guy before that leads me to believe that he's just trying to get his boy on the field. Like, I don't like, I think right there, that was the catalyst to everything starting to fall away. When you made that switch, you decided to go from heavy sets to, okay, now we're going to start throwing the ball. Like, it was working, bro. It was working. And people want to talk about how they were running the ball with, in the 4th quarter to start. That doesn't bother me at all, because they were averaging 20 yards a clip. There was a 2nd and 20 that David Montgomery got 24 yards on, okay? The running game was the best thing happening for the Bears. So the fact that they were running the ball at the end of the game didn't really bother me that much. It was more so the fact that you got to the fucking goal line and decided not to hand the ball to your running back anymore. The last 2 plays were Justin Fields scrambles or Justin Fields runs, right? Go with the guy that got you there. And another thing that bothers me is the fact that they made that obvious tell and made that switch and evaded the run game, really. And that's when the Packers scored all their points. They were able to control the tempo. They weren't able to get any first downs. Defense got gassed. I mean, even though they played poorly, you still got to fucking get your stops, make your run fits, and tackle people, bring them to the ground. I just think overall, that's when things started going really poorly, when they made that switch and stopped going with power sets.
Well, dude, even to the flip side of that, Lucas, if we want to look at like setting it, like, so the biggest play in the 49ers game that got me, and it was Getsy's best play call of the game, and it was the touchdown to St. Brown, because of how it was set up. That entire drive, you had been running the football effectively. You set up with Blasingame in the backfield with Montgomery behind him, and you do the play action to Fields to set that play up down the field to fucking single high coverage. Like, those are the types of setup plays that are going to get you those big plays, man. Otherwise, like, when you become predictable, like when you were switching in Tevin Jenkins for running plays and you're switching in Lucas Patrick for passing plays, like, that's perfectly said, Lucas. It makes it very predictable. But like on the flip side of that, like, you need to be able to use things like that to your advantage. That's when you start, like, say, for example, like I was just talking about, putting Blasingame out there, when you're running down their fucking throat and sneaking a play action in there to fucking try to make something happen. You know what I mean? Like, it was just getting way too predictable. And like, this is where I feel like it's just inexperience from Getsy calling plays, is like the setup play is, there's like 3 or 4 every single game from good offensive coordinators that you just you don't see it coming. Honestly, dude, even as big of football guys as we are, we'll be watching the game and we'll see that setup play as it starts to happen. And it's like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, I didn't even expect him to pull this out here. And then you see it and it's like, well, if I didn't expect it, then fucking the guys on the field that fucking are watching it or playing it live sure as hell didn't fucking expect it. And that's usually when you hear big time plays. And we just did not get any of that last week. You know what I mean? And that absolutely falls on Justin Fields as well, because he wasn't effective in his layup throws as well. There were throws that he needed to make. There were guys he needed to get to. He needed to get the ball out of his hand, and he was failing to do so on time. That is something that is that's going to continue to be the narrative, and that's not just some sort of personal direct shot at Justin Fields. You can look back at my fucking Twitter history. I've been on Justin Fields hype train for a long fucking time, and I don't plan on fucking moving. But we need to be able to address these types of things. He held onto the ball too long. He was not hitting his layups. And when you're not hitting your layups, you're not going to be able to set up those fucking setup plays. You're just simply not going to be able to do it because you're going to have to really simplify what you're doing on offense to really kind of cater to what's happening on the field, you know? And I'm not saying Getsy should have maybe toned it back as much as he did. I still feel like you hit a point where it's like you're playing in fucking Green Bay, and once you're down, but once Green Bay scores 21 in the second quarter, maybe start getting real fucking aggressive. You know what I mean? Because like, I understand wanting to go with what works, but at the same time, like we saw how that played out. Like running the ball was awesome. Fucking bringing those, you know, moving down the clock and everything like that was not so awesome when you only have 3 timeouts to work with, and you had 2 very fucking big plays that you ended up having to challenging in the stretch of that game. Like those are situations where you really just kind of like, dude, if Fields isn't having a game and you're already down 17 fucking points, he's either going to swim or he's going to fucking drown. Throw him, just have him fucking do it. If he drowns, he drowns. If he swims, he swims. This is the season to figure it out because we can't be doing this next season.
So to that last point, I understand that. You got to find out, right? Like, so I do get that. And wanting him to throw the ball more. Totally understand that point. I also just want to call back to Flus having to challenge those. Side note, before I get into the Justin Fields stuff, he shouldn't have challenged that touchdown play. I understand why he did it, but at the end of the day, they're never going to overturn that. And that's the most conclusive evidence I've ever seen of the ball breaking the plane. But have you seen an overturned call for someone that got called for no touchdown, and then it's reviewed in a goal line scrum and then they give them the touchdown? Like it's very, very rare that happens. It was going to be a lost challenge no matter what. At that point, the clock's already stopped. You still have 3 timeouts. You can force them to get a 3 and out punt. You're in good field position. You're still only 2 scores down. You know, maybe shit could happen. Like there was like 8 or 9 minutes left in the game at that point. So yes, I understand why you want Justin Fields to throw more. I also just wanted to point that out, but I am not going to fault Luke Getsy for leaning on the run game and trying to protect Justin Fields because he played so poorly up to that point. So if it's the sole fact that you're trying to find out that if Justin Fields is your guy moving forward, especially because, I mean, we want Justin Fields to be the guy. Like you said, you're a huge Justin Fields fan. I think he's the most talented quarterback the Chicago Bears have ever had. Honestly, I think in terms of talent, he's up there. I know Cutler was very talented as well, and I'm sure you don't want to do, but in terms of like his ability to escape ability, his ability to run, and then his arm and accuracy, like he's up there in terms of talent for the best I've ever seen the Chicago Bears have. So of course I want him to work out. I don't want to go through another fucking quarterback and all this drama. But I understand why Getsy was running the ball at the end of the game because Fields played extremely poorly and there's no other way to cut it. Now, you're hoping he gets better and is able to hit some of those plays. I mean, the reality is it's the anticipation throwing. I've talked about this multiple times. You have to be able to hit players coming out of their break. You cannot wait for them to come open because by the time they come open and you release the ball, they are now in someone else's zone and now that's going to be picked off. It's been a knock on Justin Fields throughout the entire draft process. It's something that he's had issues with last year, and now it's continuing this year. He needs to improve in that aspect, or he will never be a successful QB. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm hoping to God he can do it, but that is something he needs to perfect, it's something he needs to be consistent with to consistently be good. Otherwise, you're going to have these up and down games where he's just like, holy shit, he made 2 great plays. The Bears won. Now he's got again. And that's another thing too. Bears fans. For any Bears fans listening that for some reason decided to hype this team up and hype up Justin Fields to no avail, even though they had no fucking receivers, a bunch of no names on the O-line. Like, I understand all that. It's not an ideal situation for Justin Fields, but you are putting a target on this kid's fucking back, and now you're surprised when he has a dog shit game on national television that people are saying he sucks. Like, maybe just create a better environment on social media. If it's not for him, maybe he doesn't even watch it, but create it for the other fans. So we don't have to fucking deal with this weird thing where it's like every week, your takes are not going to be proven in 1 week. If Justin Fields has a good game next week, that doesn't mean that now you get the week to brag. No, it's fucking real life, dude. Like this is real life. Like this is a developmental process. And I feel like fans are putting a target on this kid's fucking back for no reason, dude. Like for no reason at all. We knew there was going to be growing pains. We knew he still needed to get better. Like you could even call his first year a mulligan the same way you did with Mitch because of fucking an inept offensive system that he did not fit Justin Fields. It forced him to make full field reads. They didn't even install game plans for him. So sure, his rookie year is kind of a mulligan. So we are kind of seeing his true rookie year in learning this new system. So I'm willing to be like, oh yeah, like let's be patient. Let's not sit here. Thanks, Derek. I appreciate you. Like I'm willing to be patient. And I'm
Derek's a huge Packers fan.
Is he? But oh, is he? Oh, okay, dope. But I'm willing to be patient with the kid. Like I like the kid a lot. I want him to be great. But like if he's not going to consistently make anticipation throws as receivers are coming out of their breaks, he will not be a successful QB. It's pretty simple. And I know a lot of people are going to say, and me and Duke disagreed with this, but right now, aside from that stat that you saw posted from Next Gen Stats, that's like 3.28 seconds that involves scrambling, just time in the pocket time alone. This is while he's in the pocket, average time in seconds between snap and throwing the ball or pressure. He has the most time to throw. Like the stats do not lie. It's taking him 3.1 seconds to either A, get the ball out of his hands, or B, have pressure get to him. So it's something that needs to be cleaned up. It's something that needs to be the biggest emphasis throughout this season, throughout next offseason, for as long as Justin Fields, we are trying to make Justin Fields a franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears, because those big splash plays are incredible. And it's something we all want to see, but he's not where he needs to be yet, dude. Like he's not there yet. And I feel like these Bears fans are putting a target on his back, pounding their chest, never playing a fucking game of football in their life, not understanding what it takes to actually get to that level that Justin Fields is trying to get to. And they're going to be the first ones to throw him under the bus if he doesn't work out. They're going to be the first ones to say, this guy, I never thought he was good, or I just learned that he's not good. I was able to evaluate. No, you weren't. You're a fucking meathead that hypes people up every single time. And then as soon as fucking either the organization turns their back on him or or someone else turns their back on him, you are going to then shit on them. Okay. So like, it's this weird thing going on Bears Twitter, and it's happened for years. It's really happened since the fucking Cutler years, right? You had to pick one side. Why don't we just let the kid fucking develop? Like, why don't like imagine if Josh Allen was in Chicago, he would have never worked out. I'm 1,000% convinced Josh Allen would have been a dog shit quarterback because his first 2-3 years were not very good. And then he exploded, but that's because Buffalo embraced the motherfucking kid and they let him develop. They saw the potential there. And Josh Allen, an issue that Josh Allen had was getting the ball out of his hands on time. So it's something that can be learned, but like he's not there yet. And like, I don't know, man. It's really frustrating.
So to just
really frustrating.
Just to go back to the original point that you made. So why I will disagree with why I did not want Getsy to scale the playbook back at this point is you look at what Justin Fields literally just did at Lambeau last season, being able to air it out a little bit. Mistakes were made. Absolutely. Were they game-losing mistakes necessarily on the offensive side of the football that lost the game against the Packers last year? I wouldn't say so. I think the defense fell apart quite a bit in the second half. But when you completely take away that ability to even take shots down the field, like you're just not going to be able to do much in a modern NFL offense. Like it's just that simple,
it's not
man.
like they weren't drawing up deep shots. He missed his shot to Mooney. He didn't even give him a chance.
Dude, 18 dropbacks. Like 18 dropbacks. I'm going to fall on that every single time.
18 dropbacks and only 9 attempts.
Okay, all right. You talked for like 10 minutes, so give me a second here. Let me talk. All right. 18 dropbacks to that point. You have to be able to just take those shots, dude. Listen, I don't give a shit about protecting Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields is a grown ass man who was drafted in the number 11 in the NFL draft to come play football for the Chicago Bears. He was slated in as the starting quarterback throughout the entire training camp process. He was slated in as the starting quarterback throughout the entire fucking preseason. He's slated in as the starting quarterback for the entire season. He is supposed to be the franchise quarterback of the Chicago Bears. I am fucking so sick of this idea that we need to protect quarterbacks for 3-4 years. Like, let Justin do it. If Justin drowns, he drowns. This is the season. We are not winning a Super Bowl this season. This is the season where you need to get the offense going and just let it go. If Justin sinks, he sinks. If he swims, he swims. But throwing the football and only dropping back 18 fucking times against the Green Bay Packers in a season where you don't have Super Bowl aspirations doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, dude. It's tucking your sack and farting on your fucking balls, because even when you're running the ball effectively, which you went away from in the first half, you are burning time on the clock. So that's why, honestly, that Getsy challenge doesn't bother me all that much, because with the way we were running on offense, we were never going to make that fucking time up, dude, even if we had 3 timeouts, because it was very obvious that Getsy was not willing to take shots down the field or set up those plays. Like, you can say that Justin played like shit. There's no other way to put that. And he didn't capitalize on the layups. He didn't capitalize on the easy throws that he should have made. But, like, you need to just let the guy keep fucking throwing at a certain point. Like, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of that gunslinger mentality. And that's something that made Aaron Rodgers really great throughout his early on in his career as well. Because even games where he started slow, they let him keep fucking going, you know? Especially if you're down at half. Like, you were down 24-7 at halftime. You got to get fucking aggressive. Like, I'm all about balance. I love running the football. I will say that again. I love running the football because I love what it sets up for play action. And I think it sets up a lot for things you can do downfield and setting up plays. Like I was talking about with setup plays. That's one of my favorite fucking ideals in all of football on the offensive side of the football. But like, when you are not trying to fucking take shots down the field and you're playing scared because you don't want your second year quarterback to fail, you're never going to win. He's not going to learn because he's never going to be put in these tough situations. I watched Justin play a lot of games in fucking college, and while he's not necessarily the perfect prospect, he's a very fucking talented kid who can play when the big fucking lights are on. And he showed it at Lambeau last year when that team went in there, and this makes me sick to give Matt Nagy any sort of fucking credit, but that team went in there knowing they had nothing to fucking lose. And that's what I saw from this team in week 1 against the 49ers, and that's what made that win so fucking awesome. For whatever reason, we came into week 2 feeling like we had a chance to fucking lose something, and that's not going to win a lot of games with the way we fucking are, man. We need to be able to show up every single week ready to go 100%, balls to the wall, because this team isn't talented enough to get off on that. They can't. Luke Getsy doesn't have enough fucking experience as a play caller. Justin Fields doesn't have enough experience as a starting quarterback, and we don't have the fucking weapons around him to just get by talent. We need to be going balls to the wall at all times. I want aggressiveness. That's what I want out of Matt Eberflus, because Matt Eberflus literally irradiates that alpha aggressive behavior. And I know I'm getting a little fucking crazy here, but this is what made me the most upset about this fucking Bears game. Was it just hit a point where it's like, we're accepting what we're getting right now, and that's never going to be good enough for me in this type of year. You need to see who the hell's your Warriors, and you need to see the guys who don't belong on this fucking team next year.
Well, I think
I'm going full-blown meatball, as Mike Dick has said when he walked into that fucking locker room. In 3 years, we'll win a Super Bowl. The bad news is not all of you are going to be here to fucking see it, because not all of you are going to give in to what I'm asking of you, and that's what you need to see this year.
Yeah, let me ask you something. There was 18 dropbacks and 19 attempts from your running back. What did you want the split to be?
There was like 27 running plays.
27 running plays, 8 of them being from Justin Fields, and where you had 18 dropbacks and 11 attempts. So what happened to those other 7 dropbacks? Some of those were broken plays that Justin Fields ran with the ball. So you had 19 design plays to your running backs and 18 throws. How did you want it split?
I didn't complain about the split. I didn't say that about balance. I'm saying,
how do you want it done then? Because if you're saying it's 18 dropbacks isn't enough, and they only ran, so 6 of those plays were actually one of the dropbacks is the third down where he threw it past the line of scrimmage, which I don't even want to talk about that, because everyone knew like what is as you're watching, you're like, what is he doing? Why is he throwing that ball? But this is what I'm getting at. There's only so many plays. So how many more times did you want him to drop back? Because the score would have just been way fucking worse. Like, the reality is he was not converting his plays, and that's why they stopped letting him throw the ball as much. 18 dropbacks and 11 attempts, bro. That is fucking awful.
But you can't just decide at a certain point that you're just going to stop trying to throw the ball in the air. Like I don't care how much we lose by. We lost. That's all
We
I
didn't.
give a shit about, dude.
No, the only time they really started going run heavy was in that last push in the fourth quarter when they got that's another thing that killed them. They got the stop, the penalty. There was 3 minutes left in the third quarter. If they could have gotten a quick score, now you're only down 7 and you have a full quarter and 3 timeouts. And then there was the bullshit block, or there was a holding and a pass interference at the same time that extended that drive. They were able to kick a field goal. Different game now, right? But in that drive, David Montgomery was converting like 2nd and 20s. Like what? I don't care that they didn't throw there because they moved the ball. They got the ball to the 1 yard line in like 6 fucking plays.
That's fine.
20 yards through the air or 20 yards on the ground. It doesn't matter. It's not going to.
Okay, but as you said earlier in the show, Lucas, we should have stuck with what we were doing on the first drive and running heavier than fucking throwing the ball, because by doing that you control the clock and you get more opportunities to work. Like the Packers controlled the clock.
But
that's why they got 25 fucking passing attempts,
but I'm asking
38 rushes. They're passing just their plays. They completely destroyed us,
and that's partially
time possession game.
Because there were some really big missed opportunities on third down, and it shouldn't come down to Justin Fields having to complete 3rd and 7s. I'm not saying that, but I'm just asking you, what did you like? How much more? Like there was only
it was never about balance, dude. I don't know where you got the entire balance idea from.
There was only like 40 plays, bro. Like
that's what I'm saying. We only got 40 plays because we couldn't fucking sustain a drive. That has a lot to do with play selection.
You realize that was 18 dropbacks and only 7 times the ball didn't come out of his hand.
Yes, dude. Oh my gosh. All right. So we're beating our heads against the wall because we already talked about this before the show, Lucas. What I'm saying in my entire fucking point is we didn't sustain drives with the play calling.
No, I'm telling you, dude.
Tell me.
We can disagree. There were many missed opportunities by Justin Fields.
I've literally just said that in my entire fucking rant, dude.
I know, dude. I mean, I don't think we're going to get anywhere with this, but he had
Justin Fields had a terrible game. And literally said that multiple times.
Throwing the ball more was not the key to winning, and I would like to beat the Packers. I would like to.
What I'm saying, what my entire point was, is we were not sustaining drives. Like when something wasn't working, we were continuing to try to do it instead of finally deciding we're going to go to what's working when it's fucking too late in the game.
But you're upset that he wasn't airing the ball out in the end of the game, and the only thing that was working was heavy sets.
I was upset because we were already fucking down at that point, dude. We were already down bad. Like we were not going to come back in that game just by running the football. You need to start getting aggressive at that point. Like he should have never went away from running the football in the first half is what I'm saying. And then once you are down 24-7 in the second half, that's when you air it out. And that didn't happen. That's when he finally decided to start running the football. What I'm saying is the timing isn't lining up here, Lucas. Like the play calling isn't coming at the correct fucking times. Like, and it's showing of him being an inexperienced play caller.
I'm not saying
he plays on both of them, dude. They're both in the wrong here.
I'm not saying he called a good game. He didn't. He called the.
I'm not saying by Luke Getsy not calling a good game that Justin Fields played good. That's what I'm trying to say.
I guess. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just not that hung up on him only getting 18 attempts. The 7 of them did not come out of his hands. So that's the more worrisome thing than Luke Getsy not being in the flow of the game. We have a quarterback that we want to be the franchise quarterback that dropped back 18 times and seven times the ball didn't come out of his hands. And then he also missed 2 wide open guys on a third down that would have extended a drive, and one could have possibly been a touchdown. Like, and I'm not saying each one of these plays should carry that much gravity because he is learning and because of this, but like, I don't think they were just like, oh, you're not throwing the ball anymore, we're protecting you. I think he just wasn't performing well enough in order for them to fucking throw the ball.
Well, what I was saying was I said it earlier that he wasn't making his layups, dude. And like you were the one that kind of brought up the point of them protecting him. That's why I'm starting to get a little confused here.
I think they were protecting him in a sense of like trying to win the game. Like we're not going to have him try to fucking win it for us. Like we're going to lean on our running game. That's what I mean by protecting, not like protecting him like from a bad game
Well,
But
and like I don't even
they were
necessarily I don't
they
even
were
necessarily
averaging like
disagree with that, but like
yeah.
you chose a late time to start it is what I'm saying. Like I love the fact that we ran the ball as well as we did.
Oh, it was
Like
awful that they. That's what I said was the main catalyst to everything going wrong was that they went away from the heavy sets. They switched out Jenkins and Blossom game and gave away tells and they didn't fucking. Dave Montgomery had 4 carries for 36 yards in the first drive and then had one other carry in the first half. That's disgusting. That's negligence, no doubt. But
yeah,
like
that's listen at the end of the day, dude, to encapsulate all this because fucking
I'm just like if you want him to throw more,
full discretion,
that's
everybody.
the only
Me and
thing.
Lucas were literally just hammering each other about this for like a solid 45 minutes for the pod. So like we are gonna agree to
That's why
disagree
we
on
went
something
late
like
tonight
this.
actually because I was
But
out.
you're a Jagoff and so am I. It's fine. But at the end of the day, like this is just a team that we're just gonna need to see so fucking more much from. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to jump into Houston because obviously we're gonna do that on the next episode. And I've got a lot of ways that I feel like we can kind of take our next step going against Houston, but that's a team that's going to play us insanely hard because of who's coaching them. And they're kind of in the same boat as we are as far as like we have talent. We're not the most talented, so we have to play hard every single fucking week to show everybody what we are. That's what we should be doing right now. But I mean, to really just kind of sum it up, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. Like Lucas, we're going to have these discussions all fucking year, bud. Like we're going to see things differently because
Hopefully, have less and less
this
of them.
entire process is going to be kind of a painful one, and we're prepared for that. You know, a lot of people aren't, man. You know, like me and Lucas can sit on here and we can have a civil fucking discussion. You know, maybe hammer our meat a little bit, but like there are going to be people having flat out meltdowns on Twitter within the next few weeks if like Justin Fields doesn't show that he's a god, or like the defense doesn't carry the team, or like even if these guys both like say Justin Fields looks good and Roquan Smith looks like he's playing up to par, but we still find a way to lose 2 or 3. People are going to be losing it on Twitter,
Oh
man.
no, I don't even care, dude. If the Bears fucking defense sucked balls and we lost every game, but Justin Fields made strides, I would not care at all. But I mean, I'm also not insane.
But that's what I mean, dude. There are people who are predicting this team's going to win like 11, 12 games that are like freaking definitely sweating right now because they legitimately thought that this is a Super Bowl team, man. It just is what it is, man. It's growing pains. This is why I picked 8 and 9. You picked 9 and 8. Other people were picking fucking double digit wins and us winning the division, you know? Like, of course, I'm going to tell every Packer fan I run into over the course of the past week that the Bears are just going to freaking mollywop the Packers and that Brett Favre is a criminal. But like, come on, you know, we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves fucking into. But yeah, I don't know. You got anything else?
Just please, Justin, just pull the trigger, man. Just pull the trigger. That's all we want from you. Just
Yeah.
do it.
I don't want me and my co-hosts to like want to kill each other after every show, Justin. Please
I
just
mean,
figure it the fuck out.
it's the only reason why is because I have high expectations for him, dude. Like he should be a very good NFL quarterback, but if until you're getting the ball out of your hands consistently, quick, get the ball. I mean, fuck, dude. Tom Brady takes like 3 sacks a year because he just gets the ball out of his hands, and it's not. And running game can set up play action, but so can short passes and some stuff. And now, don't get me wrong, you got to script Darnell Mooney into the game. There's no reason your number one receiver should have like 3 targets through the fucking and 4 yards through the first 2 games. That's disgusting. Like you need to get some layup plays to get this kid in a rhythm.
Man, and Cole Kmet doesn't even have a fucking catch yet, and I'm sorry, that's criminal to me.
That's another thing too. I know everyone don't get me wrong, Cole Kmet's starting to piss me off a little bit, but was that drop? Was it even for a first down? Wasn't it on a third and it was short of the sticks, or am I crazy?
Yeah, it was short of the sticks,
it wasn't
man.
And
he was getting
anyway, everyone's like, he fucking sucks. They were just waiting for that drop. It just makes no sense because he didn't drop the ball in college. So what is going on? Like, why is this a problem now?
Wasn't he kind of getting smacked on that play anyway?
He had
not that that's an excuse because
it wasn't like an uncontested drop, but I think the ball made it through and got to his chest. I don't think the ball was touched at all, but yeah, it was definitely it's a catch he had to make.
His paws are too damn big for, and like this is a huge Cole Kmet talking. His paws are too damn big to be getting for that ball to be fucking getting to his chest and him catching like this, dude. Like, go fucking grab that ball.
Yeah, no, like I'm not gonna absolve him from it
Like
because
Jason Witten used to be like the most generic motherfucker. Like he would stand like 5 or 7 yards out past or like out in front of Tony Romo and just go like this. Like, Tony, throw here, I catch. I mean, but I think Cole will be fine. Like I said, I think this offense is sputtering for just a fucking multitude of reasons. Justin Fields flat out needs to be better. Because dude, if you're going to be a franchise quarterback, you got to produce no matter the fucking circumstances, no matter who's calling the plays, any of that shit. So
that's terrible, dude. A 6.4 yard average per attempt, and our running backs averaged 8.1 and 9.5. Fuck,
yeah,
dude.
it's tough. And
We're
that's
literally stuck in Bears football again. Like I know I love Flus and all that stuff, but there are times where I'm looking at Dabble and just like, why wasn't he a finalist? You know, like we have a quarterback. Like I get it, it's a meatball thing, and you want an offensive guy with an offense, you know, a young quarterback. I love Flus. There's no like Eberfuel is a trademark term on this podcast. There's you're not gonna waver me from loving Flus, but I don't know, man. It's
yeah. I mean, I will
discouraging to
give.
see him perform. He's performing worse than he did last year through the first 2 games. Now he is picking up a new offense, but it's not good right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's a rough developmental process. And this is why I preached so fucking much during the entire offseason, just to not get your hopes up for this season. You know what I mean? Just because, like, not even just, because I didn't see Justin coming out and playing the way he has so far. Like, I didn't see that coming at all. I thought he was going to at least be in that kind of like 200, 250 yard range every game with a touchdown or two, or maybe he gets it going with his feet a little bit as he kind of starts to churn it up. But like, I just haven't, I just, I just don't understand what it is with him right now. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's just him
That's what I don't get though, because
not
like
being able to.
he was the smartest person to ever take the Wonderlic or whatever test that was. Like, if I'm not mistaken, at least people have said, the people have said that he's got a photographic memory. Like they said, he picked up the offense instantly and he's able to learn the plays and the calls and all that shit right away. So it's just strange to me because like he's a gamer. He shouldn't fucking, the moment shouldn't be too big. He played at Ohio State. He played in huge games. Like he's been successful. I think it's just that he got comfortable in that Ohio State offense, knowing that guys were going to be open for 3, 4, 5 seconds, and that's just not the case here. And there's a much steeper learning curve than Bears fans anticipated. And like it's just all about timing throws. Like you gotta get the ball out of your hands. Yeah, and that's the thing that killed me too with the Mooney throw. It's like that's his throw. That's the throw he makes every single time, 10 times out of 10. Like
Yeah. I mean, I
no,
don't
Mooney
know.
didn't have much separation, but like he always puts the ball on the money downfield. So maybe he was just so out of rhythm at that point where they weren't letting him throw the ball and they finally gave him a shot. It's almost like the Mitch effect, right? Like you shelter him so much to the point where when he does get his opportunity. So I understand that part of it, right?
See, but I mean, even to the flip side of that, though, like I would say, because I don't want to dive too deep. I don't really want to fucking just rehash this whole thing, but like,
Yeah.
I would say to anybody who's kind of heard everything we've talked about today, go listen to the Eberflus press conference he did on Monday. Like, just go listen to it, kind of get his like thoughts on it. Go get your thoughts on it, because like I thought with the way he got questioned, I thought he answered a lot of things really well, and I thought he's one of those guys that'll give you bits. He'll give you bits if you're listening. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to give you like a full-fledged answer of how he's actually feeling, but like he'll kind of give you a little something. It's not like Matt Nagy where he's trying to just sell you fucking ketchup popsicles for an hour. Like that's not Matt Eberflus, dude. He's got too much damn au jus to pound in the back. But like he'll give you little bits if you ask the right question. Like, I mean, if you're gonna ask him, like, is Justin your quarterback? Like, you're gonna get probably a stupid answer because like, what the hell is he even supposed to say in that point? But if you kind of ask him like, hey, so this is the play of the situation. Like, what did you see here? What would you do next time type thing? That's where you're going to get the most out of him. You got to ask him real good football questions. You got to ask a couple on Monday. So really listen to some of the things he said about the offense and the defensive side of the football. I think you grab a lot out of it.
I mean, speaking of press conferences, should we talk about the buzzword that has for some reason gotten or the buzz clip that has gotten everyone to turn on Justin Fields, or at
No.
least half of the fan base.
So
I think
Lucas, I will allow a lot of the points you made today, like tonight, to be reasons why you would turn on Justin Fields or like fucking back out on him.
I'm not
Not saying
saying
that you. I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying if somebody wanted to because of the points you made up, because you did make. We both made good points at the end of the day, and I feel like someone could easily fly out on Justin Fields because of points he made because they're valid. But like, if you're
I
mad
don't
at an
want anyone to
NFL,
fly out.
what?
I don't want anyone to fly out. I want to like just not be an
Yeah,
insane
but
fan base.
people are, how people are
I
though.
know, yeah.
But I guess like I would say like listen to that fucking if you listen to that clip bothers you, if you think that you waking up at 8 in the morning and fucking turning bear down Chicago Bears and fucking grilling some meat or whatever outside makes you care more than guys that are in Hallis Hall every fucking day playing football games, like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if you genuinely believe that like the bear pajama pants that you wear to bed every night are more important than the fucking cleats these guys lace up, then like I'm honestly jealous because I wish I could live in that level of illusion personally.
yeah. See, here's my thing, right? While I think Wolf makes a great point here. It's a lose-lose. It's lose-lose saying shit like that for Fields. He definitely needs to this is a multi-pronged thing, but I just wanted to cover this because I feel pretty strongly about it, right? Like it's a double-edged sword because part of me is like, yeah, with the way the Bears media is and the Bears fan base, like someone needs to tell them to go fuck themselves, right? Like I always thought Mitch needed a little bit more of that to just be like, no, yeah, go fuck yourself. You don't play the game. You know what I mean? On the other hand, like you do need to understand that you're a professional quarterback and the fan base that you're talking to and how that can really start to drum up some fucking issues. It's a very passionate fan base. What I will say about the comments themselves, and the comments were pretty much like, Bears fans don't put the work in. We care more than you guys, essentially, right? Is the gist of what he said. I don't know if I can agree with that. While it doesn't bother me at all that Justin Fields said that, like I'm not upset with him and I don't fucking hate him and I'm not sitting here calling 670 the score being like rah 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 rah. I don't know, man. I've been in this for fucking 30 years. Like, I love this team with all of my fucking heart. If things get really bad for Justin Fields, he could request a trade. Like, I think fans have the right to be upset, right? Like, and I do believe that. And I applaud Justin Fields for telling them to go fuck themselves. And yes, players probably are very unhappy with a loss. But this rivalry means a lot more to us as fans than it does to Justin Fields. I respectfully disagree with him. It doesn't bother me. I'm not upset about it. But I mean, dude, you're talking about a fucking rivalry that I was born into versus a guy that it's the second year. Like in terms of the rivalry itself, I'm not saying Bears fans are more upset or should be more upset about a loss than a player. No, I'm not. But specifically with this rivalry, like I don't know. I just feel like fans are allowed to care a lot, and it fucks up my whole week. I can say that personally. My week sucks dick after the Bears fucking lose.
Oh, I mean, dude, I can't deny that
I'm
either,
just saying
dude.
that
Like I live and die by this fucking team. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
but like I when I first heard it, it got me a little bit. It kind of reminds me when Locke said it back in 2012, and like when I was 17-year-old me was pretty fucking worked up about that too. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I guess like when I finally read the question actually asked in context because I only just saw the clip
In full context, yes.
in full context. It's like okay, it doesn't sound like he was really trying to take a shot at the fans. It sounds
No, it
like
didn't sound like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't
because
think it's
it's
justifiable to like hate him because he said that. But I'm
yeah,
just saying, I agree with the line of thinking.
it was more or less he was getting asked the question, and it's like if he answers it that like the players don't care as much as the fans, like how does that fucking look? You know what I mean? So like it kind of feels like he just wasn't really in a great position to really answer that question. Probably after the game he just had, maybe shorten that answer up a little bit.
He was pissed.
Personally, but
He was pissed. That's what I'm saying. I actually kind of like that he's like, fuck you guys. I don't like fuck you. If you wanna be out on us as a team and you want to be out on me, then fuck you. You know what I mean? I do like that. But I'm just saying, dude, they get paid to do this. I pay to participate in this. There's a big fucking difference. I put a lot of money into investing into either Bears. I mean, we talk about time. You know what I mean? I have fucking all kinds of signed merchandise. Tillman, like this team runs really deep in my blood. So I respectfully disagree. I care just as much as you, Justin Fields, about that loss. I do care, but it doesn't bother me or turn me off. You know, it's not like I think he's gotten a lot of bullshit hate about those comments, especially not in full context, right? Like it was a setup question for sure.
I hope if anything, Justin takes it this way. And it was kind of my thought as I was walking out of Lambeau and really getting a good look around, really listening to all the fucking people going at me for being a Bears fan. Like, dude, I stopped so many times on my way out of the parking lot to just look back up at Lambeau like, you fucking motherfuckers. I don't want Justin Fields to ever forget how it felt at Lambeau on fucking Sunday night. I don't want anyone on this team to ever forget what it felt like, because you want to know what, dude, they started that fucking Bears still suck chant. You had Aaron Rodgers up there tuning up the fucking band. You had fucking Matt LaFleur even firing him up and all that shit. Like,
that's another thing that pissed me off.
Like
Betsy.
But like, if you want something, if you want to fucking take anything away from that game as a player, and you want to understand why fans get worked up when Justin Fields says something like that, embrace what the hell that felt like when you were walking out of there. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
I think that you keep that bitter fucking taste in your mouth the rest of the season. By the next time you play him, you probably have a pretty big respect for that rivalry. And actually, with that Eberflus press conference on Monday, he gets asked about it, and you hear a little bit of that fucking fire in his voice, like, oh yeah, no, I know what the rivalry is. I've been in the NFL for this long. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. It's a little bit different than how you're answering that question last week. So I'm glad that this stings a little bit, because it needs to fucking sting. You know, even if I didn't expect the Bears to, in all honesty, win this game, I hope it fucking stings. I hope they do not forget this.
Yeah, and I think I might be overreacting a little bit, but like Luke Getsy was asked about, this was pregame. Hey, how do you feel about the "I still own you" comments or whatever? And I think it's just because I understand the human side of it, right? Like he's probably close with Aaron Rodgers. They're probably friends. He's not going to sit here and participate in the rivalry. He's like, I don't pay attention to the rivalry, blah, 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 blah. But then he said like, that's who Aaron is or whatever. And it pissed me off, because it's like, should we have gotten a Green Bay coordinator that is not going to do everything in his power to be like, fuck that guy for saying that? Maybe I'm just a meathead about it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I didn't like the way he answered that. And he followed it up with a fucking dog shit game, calling, helping his quarterback.
Yeah, no, I dig that. I vibe with that a lot. Honestly, and I don't even want to like single out Getsy about that, because I think Patrick, is kind of in that same boat, and so is ESB. But like, I would hope when they came here, it's like with this idea, like they let me go. Like, I'm gonna fucking stick it to them. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want.
Getsy could have been promoted to coordinator with the Packers, right? Like he should have some of that. Like, yeah, they're gonna miss me more than I miss them. That's how I want you to have an attitude. Not like, oh, well, that makes Aaron Rodgers and he's great. Like, no, go fuck yourself. Like, no. Yeah. So I hated that aspect, but I think that's a good thing to close on, because now we're
no, for sure. We definitely it's a good episode. I always love it when we fight, Lucas. We're like the fucking. You're like everyone's favorite married couple on Bears Twitter. It's pretty great.
We're like Skip and Shannon, but actually rooted in reality.
Yeah, except like we're gonna fucking hang out in a couple weeks, play Risk, and eat like fucking 10 pounds of thin crust pizza from Phil. So
yeah, I'm down with that for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a good place to stop for sure. We're gonna be back on Thursday or Friday. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it yet, but we'll be back for the next episode of Barely There to cover the Houston Texans game. If you're going to be going down to the game, I highly suggest buying tickets now because they are getting a little out of hand from what I've been seeing online. Be sure to follow the pod at Barely There Pod. You should be always follow me, Duke Coughlin, at That Pod Guy Duke. And as always, you follow Luke Perfetti at Luke Perfetti 46. I'm a little burnt out. I'm kind of killing the outro right now, but that's okay
I'm dead
because
too, man.
the Bears are getting a fucking dub on Sunday. So till next time, bear down. I've been Duke Coughlin. That's Lucas Fetti, and we're barely there.